Good afternoon, sir. This is TNIE. Thank you for coming online. And this 35 years of attrition, fighting this proxy war has led to Kashmir now being one of the most militarized places in the world. But even then, and this is of course not out of the blue. This was not surprising. Pahalgam happened. How, like, was it an unexpected incursion into Indian territory, and was the scale of massacre and the choreography that went behind it, like separating the Hindus and Muslims, was it unprecedented? Could we call it that?
Well, the valley since the abrogation of Article 370 and 35A has had been returning to normalcy. The situation was quite good. We had held elections at the panchayat level, at the municipal corporation level, and finally at the state level. Everything went off quite well. The tourism was on the increase. The number of militant active or terrorist activities were also very low on the scale if you compare it with in the past 10 decades. So these 3 4 years had been quite, I would say, peaceful. And overall, I would say that situation was returning to normalcy too. But from a military perspective or from a security perspective, I would say that terrorism never dies. It only ebbs and flows. So
Right.
the traces of terrorists in the J&K Valley were always there. And in the last 1.5 years, you would have seen a number of attacks taking place, whether it was in around the Samba area, Jammu area, or Doda or Rajouri, Poonch, Vaishno Devi, Ramban. So these kind of things, Kokarnak. So these places, small actions were taking place, but those were, I suppose, uh, as per the routine pattern.
Right.
To say that we were not expecting any kind of a terror attack would be incorrect. I think we always expected that something can happen, but that something could happen on tourists was something which I suppose even we did not expect, that the Pakistani state would stoop to such levels where they would target innocent civilians openly, blatantly at point blank range, and that too after segregating them, in a, I would say it was a barbaric and a horrendous way. So the nature of the attack was not expected by us. Definitely, there was some, I would say, I mean, let's be frank, there was some intelligence failure on this count, that that such a thing could happen. So, and I think the government also accepted that we did lapse as far as this Pahalgam attack was concerned, purely from the point of view of the way it was done, and how the Pakistani state decided to do it. I mean, only cowards can do such a thing.
Right. And we have seen reports come in from different other websites now saying that a lot of satellite images were sought of Pahalgam region, maybe 2 months before the attack. So a lot of planning
Yeah,
had indeed gone into it, and you can tell that by the
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, such an event cannot just happen off the cuff.
Hmm.
There would have been a lot of planning, a lot of tying up done, funding, people to be infiltrated, the support, how they were likely to function here or sustain themselves till the act was over, which were the ideal areas from where they could function and then come up to the target area and do their job.
Right.
So yes, you're right. There was a report which says that Maxer technologies were approached for specific areas of satellite, which satellite images of Pahalgam, and but to say that we missed out on that information may be incorrect, because if you really go into the way Maxer Technologies, that company functions, it is if you are a contributor in that company, if you invest in that company, then you can ask for images, and the others won't know as to who had asked this images, right?
Right. Right.
So one could really not pinpoint it to the source. People did come to know that there was possibly images of JNK being asked, but Along with Pahalgam, there were other areas also where images were being asked. So
right.
it was, I would say, very difficult unless you knew the source. Like the BAI systems was I think BAI or BS, I'm not often remembering. The print report says, I think it was BAIS system of Pakistan, that company which is, and that company is run by a history seeker. He
Mm,
is himself a convict of the US government as well. So this information was not available till that time. It is only that later on, when people started looking at it in terms of how the space, how the this particular company was involved in getting satellite image and all came to light. But by that time, it was too late, you know.
right.
So yes, you're right. There was detailed preparation done
Yeah.
with
And
imagery,
what
etc.
and what according to you prompted these proxy units to carry out such a barbaric attack?
Well, there are three, four reasons, and this is very important for people to understand. And this I'm not saying purely from circumstantial evidence.
Yeah.
I am telling you this based on the kind of tweets which I got, reply counter tweets which I got on my tweets from Pakistan after the Pahalgam attack happened. For example, one of the tweets said, General, I mean, they addressed me as General, saying that for the first 2 days, we were not aware how to tackle the Indian narrative, which means he was trying to squarely put the blame that this entire incident was done by India, which is absolutely foolhardy for anyone to, think on those lines. But anyway,
Yeah.
what he said was that, but over a period of time, they got hold of the narrative, and then in the second tweet, it was a succession of tweets. That fellow said that. You know, be it economic, be it terrorism, be it any other problem which flooding, whether any problem which Pakistan was facing, this particular incident, that means the Pahalgam incident, has brought the entire country behind Pakistan army.
Mm, mm,
So this is a clear-cut reference that Pakistan army was being threatened of its very uh, importance, because Pakistan army feels that it is the prima donna of Pakistan, and it
yeah.
was losing ground, losing grip because of the situation on the west, basically due to BLA and the TTP, as also because of the economic failure of Pakistan as a state. So this was probably one of the intentions to galvanize the country, people of the country of Pakistan back
Mm,
in line with Pakistan army. That was
right.
the second one. And the third one was that, which I feel is very important. The third tweet which he gave was that before the water of Indus dries
Mm,
and we crash economically,
mm,
the war will reach your soil and target your religious fault lines which you cannot handle. So
right.
therefore, the third aim. Now, this is a clear giveaway that Pakistanis were actually targeting the religious fault lines of our country, in the sense then that is why they picked up Hindus in particular, and that too those who are married at the recent, those who are married, etc.
Right.
So somewhere down the line, they had the intention of creating problems in India on the religious fault lines, which is, in my view, was the third aim of Pakistan army to conduct this, Pakistan to conduct this proxy attack or the terrorist attack. I would be wrong in saying proxy. I would say squarely it was a heinous terrorist attack. And the fourth reason was that Kashmir was returning to normalcy so quickly, so rapidly. Development was taking place. It was connected to road, rail, air, everything. The Pakistan Valley, Kashmir Valley was now rightly and squarely part of India. Tourists were thronging into the valley. People of valley were very happy to get business, to see development. So somewhere they thought that they're losing the narrative of Kashmir, so they wanted to get Kashmir back into focus, internationalize it, and wake up. I would say from their perspective. I'm not saying from our perspective, but
Right.
from their perspective, to bring back the issue of Kashmir into the
mm,
international debate, which was probably the fourth
right.
intention. So these were the three, four major intentions, I would say, of conducting this terrorist attack by Pakistan.
Right. And India's response has also been, proportionate. They targeted nine uh, terror hotbeds. And if you look at past instances of how India has dealt with, Pakistan and, terrorism arising out of Pakistan, if you go back to 2611, we engaged in a dialogue with them. Pathankot, again, we invited them for an investigation. And then Puri and this Pulwama happened, wherein there was some sort of retaliation from India, but now we have taken one step higher. We have taken it one step higher, and we have retaliated ninefold by nine of the terror hotbeds as well. Do you think we have now eroded patience and tolerance of Pakistan? And do you think now the space for dialogue has now there's less space for dialogue now and more about action.
Well, see, India's patience, strategic patience against such assaults by our adversary through their terrorist groups in India has been a consistent story in the last 20 odd years, and we have been very badly affected. Let me put it this way. Our response had always been very, very narrow, very, very focused, very, very to the point. If you did something, we kind of retaliated in a similar way. Whether you take Pulwama or Uri or Pathankot, we were, I would say, very narrow in our actions against Pakistan. We did not want to escalate the situation to levels beyond the desired. Even now, in the current operations, we consistently insisted after every action which we took from the 7th of May was that we have taken action against the people who perpetrated this particular uh, attack in Pahalgam and the backers of those groups. So, in our opinion, that we have done the damage, we have taken the revenge, and we are not interested in escalation, provided Pakistan does not escalate the situation. This has been the norm from the 7th of May up to the time when we decided to cease military activities till 12th of May 2025 on at till 12 o'clock till the DGMOs again talk to each other. So, but there has been significant differences from the past. We now have taken a conscious decision that any act of terror will be considered as an act of war. So our response will not be restricted and limited to the level with which we are affected. So you found that this time the rules of engagements have changed.
Right,
It is no more that, even in Kargil, we said, okay, we will not cross the LC, we will remain in the area of Kargil and will not go to JNK also. I mean, the other parts of JNK, we will not go to the IB. Those kinds of restrictions we had put to ourselves
right,
purely out of consideration that we should not escalate situation. But now, in this time, you would have found the frontiers were no restrictions. So we took down the terrorist infrastructure wherever they were,
right.
because you see, terrorists can always have their infrastructure in the IB sector and come back to this sector, attack us, and then go back there. So
Mm,
so they were continuously enjoying this kind of a freedom in Pakistan. So this time we decided that okay, terrorist wherever you are in a particular country, you will be hit. It's not only a message for Pakistan, it's a message for all our
right,
neighbors who indulge in this kind of a thing, which and I'm now referring to the other neighbors who are there, who are inimical to India, and may be thinking of undertaking such an action. So one thing we have made it very clear, it's a much larger messaging which we have done this time. The second thing which you have to realize that earlier like I said, we had a very narrow, specific response in the sense either the army would do it or the air force would do it. Air Force, in fact, came much later in Pulwama, as
Yeah,
post
Balakot.
Pulwama in Balakot. So this time you would have found that it was a multi-domain, multi-agency response.
Hmm.
It was all organized at the national level with all the chiefs, CDS, National Security Advisor. Then you had the Foreign Ministry there, and so it was you had the security intelligence agencies,
Right,
RAW, IB, everybody getting together as a kind of a multi-domain, multi-agency operation.
right.
So entire nation was actually involved in this particular. So rules of engagement, the method with which we have conducted these operations, targeting, the level of weapons used, everything has changed. The weapons are no more a restriction. We can use an air asset, we can use a missile asset, we can use drone. There is no restriction as far as our weapons are concerned. So this is the second big change from what. And the third thing which we have achieved to decode or to take it as a lesson as far as we are concerned is that we have found the gaping holes in Pakistan's defense system
Hmm.
or the organization of its defense, so which will prove quite handy for us in any kind of future response which we may have to give, whether it is a localized response or a limited response or a full-fledged war.
Right.
And the fourth thing, and the fourth big thing which we have now achieved for ourselves is that the nuclear bluff that has been
Yes.
called off. You see, because of this nuclear card which Pakistan had been playing on and on and on, we were trying to restrict ourselves in our response. And I think this particular this round, I think we have clearly pushed that red line far above. The kind of operation which we can do has definitely gone not notches up. It has gone, I would say, there's a tectonic shift. It's
Right.
a it's a transformative approach to our response to terrorism,
Right.
not
And if you
notch
look at
up.
past dialogues that India has had with Pakistan, it is this very thing about nuclear, this question of nuclear, whether they will employ the nuclear power, is what had India crippled for this long. But this time we have called the bluff and we have decided to take action. And but
Yeah,
Pakistan has also retaliated. But again, as we had discussed earlier, this is all a part of a ruse to get international or invite international attention and then cut back on the
absolutely.
aggression so that some peace could be had. Because, as you know, and as defense experts have been pointing out to us, Pakistan
Yeah.
has no capacity to continue a long-term, prolonged war. The attrition will definitely hurt them. Whereas India is much more prepared, they have much more capabilities to continue the war as long as it wants to. And also, the higher it escalates, because I'm told it's the little skirmishes that hurt India the most. The higher this escalates, India has far more dominance by way of the navy, way of the army. So why is it that we have continued to let this ruse go on for so long?
Uh, I would say that the situation in the past were slightly different. Our level of technological enhancements have increased. Our preparations over a period of time have been uh, have been enhanced. Our capabilities have been enhanced, and also the fact that sometimes you tend to calculate certain things, assuming that XYZ might happen. And it is that fine risk taking which is ultimately left to the leadership of any country. So I think this time around the risk taking of the country's leadership has been much more higher. And so therefore, we were able to take such a robust and resilient action. But you should also realize that we, right from the beginning, were not, in favor of war. You see, our Prime Minister has always been saying that this is not an era of war. But it does not mean that we are weak or we are hesitant to go to war. It is just that our long-term aim. What is our long-term aim? Our long-term aim is our defense forces must be made so robust that they are able to take care of our threats from our northern borders. We are able to take care of our threats which may emanate from our eastern border, which is now a little bit, you know what I'm referring to, is
Right.
Bangladesh basically.
Yeah.
So even there, the situation is not very healthy. The Myanmar situation is not very healthy. The northern borders remain a constant concern for us. There is a huge amount of capability gap there, so which we need to quickly fill it up. And once we are, uh, totally prepared to take on the various kinds of threats which we have in our country against our country, I think automatically our stature would be so high that countries like Pakistan may think, I think, 5 to 6 times before they can even think of looking at us. So as of now, we have given them a solid drubbing. We have conveyed our message with an iron hand, and we have also conveyed a deterrence message for them in the future that should you do this kind of a thing, you will be hit even harder, I would say hardest.
Right.
So with this, even Chanakya says, or even Sun Tzu has said, the art of fighting a war is to subdue the enemy without fighting a war.
True, true.
So that kind of a thing should remain our policy till we become so robust that people have to think twice before they can attack us.
Right. And as you had mentioned, Operation Sindoor, that is, even though the intensity was high, it still remains not a solution but a deterrence, because terrorism, as you had mentioned earlier, it is something that cannot be eliminated completely uh, at the moment. Could you
You
elaborate on that?
see, it's not that our operations can eliminate or not eliminate terrorism. Terrorism by nature is very difficult to eliminate. I am a student of terrorism. In fact, my post graduation was on terrorism as a subject, and right from our olden times, ancient history I'm talking about,
Yeah.
terrorism has existed in some form or the other. It's only their shape and contours have changed. In history, we used to have these, like anarchism during the French Revolution, Russian Revolution. That is also a form of a terrorism. Then we had the state of colonial uh, groups which rose up and fought for independence. Thereafter, the communist groups who started coming in big numbers and started fighting across the globe. But over a period of time, communism died because of its failure to actually address the problems of the people, except for barring an odd exception of Naxal movements, which is there still in our country. By and large, everywhere else, communist ideology-driven terrorism has gone by the side. And
Right.
then came in the religious terrorism. So see, Kurds were earlier a communist,
True.
and when they found that communism was not really motivating people, they also switched over to some kind of a religious group, and now they are motivating people on the in the name of religion. So religious terrorism has taken root since 1979 with the success of the Iranian Revolution, and that thereafter I would say that even the Afghanistani uh, experience has emboldened people to
True.
undertake
Yes.
religious terrorism. Twice. Once the terrorists defeated the Russians, the second time they defeated the Americans. So these successes actually uh, encourage the other groups which are fighting elsewhere in other parts of the world to say that okay, if they could succeed against the Americans in Afghanistan or Russians against the Russians in Afghanistan, so this is the right way to achieve our goals. So you find that the religious terrorism is currently very, very widely spread all across the globe. And till that happens, we are not likely to see a major, I would say, downside of terrorism led by a religious ideology. So we may see a downslide, we may see a deterrence for, let's say, a few years, unless we continue to convey the fear of retribution to the people who are involved in terrorism, backers of terrorism, and the groups which are undertaking terrorist acts, uh, terrorism will remain in some form or the other, maybe at a lower scale, which we have to deal with it in our stride, the way we deal with Naxalism, etc.
Right. And does this incident, this ceasefire has happened, Pakistan has resorted to now, stopping all this unprovoked firing. Uh, does this mean that there is now an avenue for Pakistan to salvage itself and perhaps, redeem its ways of past errors? Or could like will we see Pakistan resorting to earlier ways of pointing a gun to its head and hoping that the world will intervene and save them?
You see, Pakistan somehow is a very, very irrational actor as far as Jammu and Kashmir is concerned. It may be probably having some amount of straight thinking as far as the other issues are concerned. But as far as India is concerned, it is so deeply wedded with two nation theory, which has got no meaning because there is no nation in the world which is based on, uh, which has been carved out. There is some nation already a Islamic nation, that's a different thing. But there is no nation in the world which has been carved out in the name of Islam. Right. So it's an artificial creation of a nation, and they have to continuously feed this story to their people to ensure to exist as a nation. So hence, they will continue to find ways and means to bring back their the most popular problem of Jammu and Kashmir into center stage to ensure their existence. So till the time they are wedded to this two nation theory, I don't think they are really going to mend their ways except for, I would say, strategic downsizing their activities for a while till this current conflict situation subsides. It would
What
be, I should say, we should not be uh, uh, complacent to
right?
believe that the Pakistan is likely to improve in a major manner. But we should take this opportunity after the beating they have got to get as much leverage as possible out of the situation.
Like how long could India continue to be worried about Pakistan? Because as we had mentioned earlier, we also have ambitions of our own. We want to go forward and prosper. How long could this Kashmir issue be used as a used to hold India hostage?
In my
And
opinion, if we, in my opinion, if we are going to present a robust front as far as Pakistan is concerned, and not indulge in, soft peddling Pakistan, we will be able to find the space to develop Kashmir as per our wishes and fully get it integrated into our national mainstream, we should not have any problems. Only thing is, it will take time. Such actions take time to fully grow into a kind of a peaceful solution. The constant preparations to keep your military power, hard power, prepared, upgraded for any future confrontation like this will send a message across that do not do not take any action which might lead uh, to retribution which may be unacceptable to them. For that, we have to consistently build fear into our adversary. And the
and for
only way
that,
to build this,
yes,
only way
please.
to build this fear is that we should work on multiple front, international front, military front, economic front. Then only we would be able to keep Pakistan at bay and let the situation in Kashmir become normal quickly and let it revert back to the period I'm saying pre 1987 or so.
And should an untoward incident like Pahalgam is to happen again, we can be like there wouldn't be any doubts that India would employ whatever forces it has in its disposal to wreak harm to wherever this terror was made.
Yeah, absolutely. It will be an action which may not be like this time.
Hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
but it will be even more harder action which we might undertake. Okay, because the moment you classify anything as an act of war, then your response is like war.
Hmm.
And the current response which we did was just short of war. It was
Hmm.
not war.
Right, right.
It was an off-ramp operation which we had conducted. So if we respond the way we respond in war, then things will be out of control of Pakistan.
And as a former army officer, how do you see this, transition of the Indian Army and of course the other defense forces as well?
I find that there is a huge amount of synergy which has been achieved in the defense forces of India. All the three services seem to be on board together in growing, creating a force which is working in unison for the security of the nation. So that's a huge, huge change which I
Good.
have seen in the last few years, and that credit goes to all the three chiefs and the chief of defense staff for having created this kind of an environment, and to also the political leadership which is encouraging the defense forces to merge into one single entity. And if you are a joint force, truly a joint force, integrated force, then it is very, very difficult for someone to actually hurt you or harm you.
Right. Okay, so that's all the time we have. Thanks very much for joining TNIE, and I wish you a very good day. We will be in touch again for future stories. Until then, take care.
Thank you, Ronnie, and you do
Yeah,
take care.
yeah, take care. Thank you.